Hey kids, welcome to another super helpful math lesson. It's Module 4, Lesson 9, and it is not 2019, it's 2020. Well, it's only 2020 for a short time longer. Anyway, we're going to fly through this lesson. This is a great one. It's a little bit of review, and it's conversions. So we're going to have fun with this one. A little bit of a warm-up. First of all, the objective for today, Lesson 9, Module 4, find a fraction of a measurement and solve word problems. So if your teacher doesn't go through a little bit of a warm-up, it's just to get you thinking about conversions. So I like to start with these. Hopefully this will jog your memory. If you think about standard measurement in the United States, then we have cups, pints, quarts, gallons. And so the cups are the tiniest measurement. Well, we still have liquid ounces, but anyhow, for our math today, it's usually 1 pint equals 2 cups. If you know what the unit is that's inside, you can start multiplying when you know the single unit. So if I know that 1 pint equals 2 cups, notice that this is a larger unit on the left, and if you want to show an equivalent on the right, we're going to be multiplying by a whole number. So 2 pints would be 4 cups because it's 2 times 2, and then 3 pints would be 6 cups because it's 2 times 3, and 7 pints would be 14 cups because it's 2 times 7. So we're using this as a formula, which is what we do today. And again, more equivalents here. If 1 foot equals 12 inches, then 2 feet are 24, and 4 feet, again, multiply by the 1. Once you know the single, you can know any amount. With yards, this is a larger unit, this is a smaller unit. 1 yard equals 3 feet. So if you know the single unit, you can multiply to get any amount of a larger unit. And same with gallons and quarts. 4 quarts and 1 gallon, you can multiply by any amount to find out how many are in that unit. So moving on. Today's lesson, you may want to make put a little flag on page 167 in your workbook, because 167 has this reference sheet. It's kind of a blurry picture. That's not my camera, that's the book, because it's like just a horrible copy. And it shows all the metric stuff, but it also has these liquid amounts for you, plus more metric, and then miles to feet and to yards. And so flag that with a sticky note if you can, because you may need to make reference to that. Again, that's page 167 in your Learn book. Okay, moving right along. So today, the strategy is to use a formula. Okay, and I love formulas because you just plug in the data, and as long as you take really good notes and you are very precise, like I tell you to be in class every day, if you do it this way, you won't make any careless mistakes, okay? Some kids start skipping steps and then they'll eventually make a mistake. Eventually, you start to learn it and then you really get it. So we will whittle it down, but at first, don't skip steps. 1/4 pound equals how many ounces? Okay, and then for reference, 16 ounces equals a pound. So we're going to take 1/4 pound. So the way you write it is you just kind of copy stuff and then fill in the blanks. First of all, I'm going to take the 1/4 pound that I want the equivalent of, and I'm going to rewrite it. And I'm going to multiply by 1 of the old unit. And again, LB and pound, I didn't make up the abbreviation, just do it. Pound or ounces, ounces here, pound here, abbreviation here. So this line here says times 1 of the old unit, because this is going to be 1. 1 times 1/4 equals 1/4. That's why it works. Now copy it again, because now here's where we make the change. 1/4 times the equivalent of the new unit. This here, I wrote these here so you could write them, because it doesn't matter what's here and what's here. This is all going to change, but this is going to stay the same. So whatever your old unit is, put 1 of those, and whatever your new equivalent is, put what's equivalent to this. This box here is the most important part. Once you have that, then you can start writing it out. 1 times 16 Now this is like taking the 1/4 times 16, okay? Now I already am thinking about this in my head. That's why I wrote it 1 times 16 over 4. Because in lesson 8, we go over how you can do this. And once you set it up this way, this allows you that opportunity to cross cancel or use the commutative property to move the 4 around so that you can simplify your fractions, because 16/4, remember, is really equal to 4. And so it's all of that work that we talked about in lesson 8. Why does this work? Why can I use the commutative property? How can I make these problems easier? So anyhow, once you get through all this and think about it in terms of 16 divided by 4 or simplifying the fraction, 1/4 of a pound is equal to 4 ounces. Okay, so that's really the whole intro. There are a couple more practice problems in the book before we get to the workbook. And 3/4 of a foot is equal to how many inches? Again, copy this times 1 of the old. Copy it again times the equivalent of the new. 3 times, again, this would be 12 over 1 because it's a whole number. And then you can simplify by scooching the 4 over here. 12/4 is really equal to 3 right here. And then you have a simple multiplication problem. 3 times 12 or 3 times 3, and then you end up with your 9. You can solve it a couple different ways. This is 36 over 4. This one is cross-canceled. 3 times 3 is 9. So this is the previous lesson skill, and you can do it either way. You're going to end up with 9 either way. And the last problem, you'll also see some tape diagrams today. Mr. Davis spends 2/3 of every year in Florida. How many months does he spend in Florida each year? 2/3 of a year is equal to how many months? Again, copy what they want the equivalent of. Rewrite it here, times 1 of the old unit. Rewrite it here, times the equivalent of the new. This is the box where the change happens. Rewrite it so that you can do your cross-canceling or simplifying. And then 2 times 4 is 8, and it's 8 months. Here's a tape diagram. Okay, this is also another way to get it. This is where we were previously. If you take the whole, divide it into the denominator number of parts, 3 parts. This was the 3 units equals 12, but I want 1 unit, 12 divided by 3, that gives you the 4, but you have to end up with 2/3 of the year. So identify the part that you need, label it correctly, and you can get 8 months either way. So those are all the warm-up problems. And then I lost my page because I went to the reference sheet. And so we're on lesson 9. All right, so here we go. Lesson 9, problem set, convert. Show your work using a tape diagram or an equation. Okay, and so we're going to do a little bit of both. I feel like through this I usually do about half and half. And the first one's done for you. So super nice. I hope you guys see how this is working. Again, times 1 of the old, the equivalent of the new. That's where that change is happening. 1 times 3 over 2. They don't bother writing that step, but then you get 3/2, and that's 1 1/2. This one they didn't actually finish because they want you to kind of see what's happening here. I see what's happening, yeah. There's the equivalent. I think I sing that like once a week. Am I right? So 1 foot equals 12 inches. This would be the 1 times 12 over 3, which they skipped here. And then 12/3. Now I could simplify that, but it's really just a very simple answer. And so since they're only asking for 1 part, and this is inches, then this would be 1/3 of a foot equals 4 inches. So pretty simple, just to kind of finish up what they started there. And I'll try to do a variety, maybe tape diagrams on the right, we'll see. Okay, 5/6 of a year. So again, copy 5/6 of a year is equal to, I don't like it when it's messy, is equal to 5/6 times 1 year, because this is the old, remember, one of the old. Copy it again. Now, I want the new unit, so the equivalent of the new unit is going to be 12 months in a year. Now, this is kind of like, where are you going to get that? Probably not off the reference sheet. You should just know that. In 5th grade, you really have to know that 12 months are in a year. Now I've got 5 times 12 over 6. And remember the commutative property. I can move this around. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Now I have 5 times 2, and I get 10 months. And so 5/6 of the year is equal to 10 months. So you can kind of do it like in one step here. If you use the tape diagram, you will have to end up multiplying by the 4 if you only find one unit. That always seems like a hassle for me, because I want to show you guys how to do everything quickly. So this is one of the old times the equivalent of a new. How many centimeters are in a meter? Use your reference sheet, or just remember that 100 centimeters are in 1 meter. 4 times 100 over 5. And instead of 5 under the 4, let's just move it over here. So 100 divided by 5 would be 20. And so that's going to give you 80 centimeters, 4/5 of a meter. So let's see, we can do, for tape diagram, why don't I do this? I don't like to go over that line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try to ignore that other line that goes through. And so if I took that 100 centimeters and I put it into 5 parts, but I wanted to know what 4 of them were. That's what that looks like. You can do 100 divided by 5 in order to get 20 for 1 part. Okay, and then do 20 times 4 to get the 80. So this is what they're talking about. You can show the tape diagram. You can do it mathematically. I'm doing it twice. You don't have to. Just want you to see what it's all about. 2/3 of an hour is equal to 2/3 times 1 hour, because that would equal 2/3 of an hour. Copy, times the equivalent in minutes. 60 minutes. 2 times 60 over 3. Now kind of scooch that over, and how many times can 3 fit into 60? 20 times, and that gives you 40 minutes. Doesn't it just seem like it's so much easier on the left, as opposed to trying to make a tape diagram and take the one part and then multiply it? So if you use the 2 in your original multiplication expression, it's like you're going to be solving it right away instead of sticking it in there later. Times 1 yard. Times, how many inches are in a yard? You may have to check your reference sheet, but it's 36 inches. 3 times 36 over 4. Now I couldn't simplify there, but I sure can use the 4 here. You can also remember Rule 2 on simplifying fractions. If you don't know what the factor is that goes into both 36 and 4, you can always start with 2, and it would at least simplify it. But you should know that 36 divided by 4 is 9, and so you can get 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 36 divided by 4 is 9. And that gives you your 27 inches. That is equivalent to 3/4 of a yard. Okay, so that's the end of the first page. And then we have Mrs. Lang told her class that the class's pet hamster smells really bad, and so you need to clean the cage out. JK, LOL, is 1/4 of a foot in length. That's a really big guy. How long is the hamster in inches? So it's really just a conversion question. And so we have our 1/4 foot equals how many inches? If you set it up like this, then you're prepared to use your formula. 1/4 foot equals 1/4 times 1 foot. That's 1 of the old. And then converting to inches. 1 foot equals how many inches? 12. I don't have room. I love how they give us these problems and then no room to solve them. 1 times 12 over 4. Now we have our super fun, we can cross cancel here. 12/4 is really equal to 3. And so I have 1 times 3, which is 3 inches. Ta-da! And if you want to set it up with the tape diagram, okay, again, you could set up your 12-inch tape diagram with 4 sections for your fourths right there. And we need just 1. And so then the 4 units equals 12 inches. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So that's kind of the redundant part, doing it again, but this is really all you need. Okay, at the market, Mr. Paul bought 7/8 pound of cashews. Oh, we have lots of parts here. 7/8 pound of cashews and 3/4 pound of walnuts. First of all, how many ounces of cashews did Mr. Paul buy? Only take the 7/8. Pound LB equals how many? OZ, I didn't do that either, not my fault, just do it. 7/8 times 1 pound. 7/8 times, now use your reference sheet if you can't remember, but, and I think I had it on the other one, 16. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. You're gonna need it for this one, and you're gonna need it for that one, and you're gonna need it for, nope, that's a comparison, and we're gonna need it for this one. Okay, where was I? 116 ounces. 7 times 16 over 8. And now you can kind of scooch this over. And look, 16 divided by 8 would be a nice 2. And so 14 OZ of cash. Ew, but they're delicious. They are so delicious. 14 ounces of cashews. Bring it on. I'll take that. I'll take that. Merry Christmas. How many ounces of walnuts did Mr. Paul buy? 3/4 pound. How many ounces? 3/4 times 1 pound. 3/4 times 16 ounces. Whoop. 3 times 16 over 4. And again, shuffle over. 16 divided by 4 is 4, so I really just have 3 times 4. 12 ounces of walnuts. What a lovely gift. Walnuts. Okay. And that's for the 3/4. And I don't think I wrote that on this one. Oh well, we're moving on. Okay, so 14 ounces of cashews and 12 ounces of walnuts. So how many more ounces of cashews than walnuts? Notice AN is a comparison. And so it's really just find the difference between the two. You hardly have to write it because it's a very simple subtraction comparison question. The difference between these two. More cashews. Love cashews. I think it's my favorite nut. Favorite. And along comes Mrs. Toombs. She bought 1.5 pounds of pistachios. So who bought more? All the nuts. Mr. Paul has cashews and walnuts together, and then Mrs. Toombs just has 1.5 pounds of pistachios. So first we have to compare the pounds, and then the question says how many ounces more. So back to, we have the total amount. So we've got our 7/8 and 3/4. So let's look at those pounds first. 7/8 and 3/4 pound for each. And remember with adding fractions how you can't combine groups when they don't have the same denominator, just change this one here to eighths. What's my scale factor? It's 2. So it's going to be 7/8 plus 6/8 equals 13/8. Now that's an improper fraction. So how many times does 8 fit into 13? One time with 5 left over. So this is the total amount of pounds of nuts that Mr. Paul, Mr. P, I'm sure everybody knows a Mr. P, but that's not the final question. That is one of the parts. We need to know who bought more. And then we need to know how many ounces. So I'm going to take this 1 5/8 and I'm going to compare it to 1 1/2. So I have 1 5/8, okay? And I need to compare that with 1 1/2. So wouldn't it be nice if I could have a common denominator? How many eighths would that equal? 2 times what? What is the scale factor? So it's times 4. So if you compare 1 5/8 to 1 4/8, bam, Mr. Paul bought more. Who bought more? Mr. P. Mr. Paul bought more. Okay, more bought. Look at that. Look at that grammar there. Isn't that awesome? Okay, then ounces. How many ounces more? So what is the difference between these two? Well, 5/8 minus 4/8 is 1/8. 1/8 pound difference. Okay, but they don't want to know that. They want to know the ounces. So 1/8 pound equals how many ounces? Okay, so 1/8. I'm going to say 1/8 times 1 pound, LB, and then 1/8, this is going to have to be really squeezy, times 16 ounces, and then we're going to have 1 times 16 over 8, and then 16 divided by 8 is 2, and so you end up with 2 ounces more for Mr. P. And there it is, totally smashed in, because look at all this space they gave us to do this great problem. Super kind of them. Okay, a jewelry maker. Let's move on after 3A, B, C, D. A jewelry maker purchased 20 inches of gold chain. Oh, by the way, if you like these, don't forget to click subscribe. I love to have lots of subscribers. Moving on, a jewelry maker purchased 20 inches of gold chain. She used 3/8 of the chain for the bracelet. How many inches of gold chain did she have left? Ooh, have left. Not on the bracelet, but have left. Let's take this and make it a super fun tape diagram. Now she used 3/8, so we have to divide it into 8 parts. Split, split, all around. This is for the bracelet. Ooh, ah. Bracelet. Don't forget to spell with the E in the middle. This is for the bracelet, but that is not what they are asking you for. They are asking you for this. This is the left part. What's left? So clearly you can see how many fractional units this is. So don't even bother with the 3/8. You can use the 3/8 and find out what 3/8 is of 20 and then subtract that away. You can do that. But why not just find 5/8 of 20? Because that's really what they're asking you to do. So if you do 5/8 of 20, you have 5 times 20 over 8. And then you can kind of look and see, well, gosh, I could simplify this. And I have a common denominator. They're both even. I could use 2, but there's also a greater common factor. And what is it? I know you guys are just going to pop because you're like, you can use 4, Mrs. Suttonist, use 4. So 4 goes into 8 2 times, and 4 goes into 25 times. And then you end up with 25 halves, which is okay because I can divide 25 by 2 and I get 12 and a half. And 12 and a half is the amount of inches left of gold chain. Inches, gold chain. Gold chain, lucky. Huzzah! And we're all done. So how about that? So pretty good lesson today. I hope this is so helpful. I hope you guys have a super awesome day, and I will see you on the next one.